Cool kids. Cool kids, we gotta get back to our roots, you know? A lot of you don't even know that addicted to minis means minis, not board games or coins. But there are exceptions. There are times when board games actually encompass miniatures as well and can be used directly for role-playing games. Now, let's begin with a discussion about what is a role-playing game. A role-playing game is something like Dungeons and Dragons. You are playing a character, using a character sheet which has your statistics on it, your abilities, right? And your character is your avatar in this world, that you have a dungeon master controlling. Your dungeon master, a good dungeon master, works for you. They want to tell a compelling story. They want to make the game fun and entertaining. Come here, baby. Evie. So, that covers that. But there are several things you need to consider when you're doing role-playing. And one is, do you want to use theater of the mind or miniatures? Well, miniatures are a very effective tool for showing, if for no other reason, showing what the battlefield looks like so you can keep everything straight, okay? Now, if you have good miniatures, it can do a lot more than that. It can actually visually tell a story. It turns your D&D game into something, in the old days, we used to use dice to represent things on the battlefield, if the battle got so complicated. But now we've got, terrain pieces and all kinds of amazing stuff, miniatures. But this video isn't about just that. It's about a specific and wonderful tool that you can buy that kind of serves two purposes. Let me go ahead and get it out. I am referring to the Dungeons and Dragons Adventure series of games. Now, this game series has several entries. All of them are their own standalone game. And inside you will find a massive selection of miniatures. And just as importantly, I think, terrain. This terrain lays out like you can make a dungeon out of this. You don't have to pay attention to any of the little game-specific icons either. I've seen people do 3D versions of these dungeons with clay. Very cool. Those are people really keen on this game. And they actually play it with their homemade 3D tiles. Really adds a lot of depth. So, what's contained? Now, remember, if any of these are painted, they don't come painted, guys. These are things that have been painted. Okay, so this is an example. A Dracolich, a blue Dracolich, right? This is not your run-of-the-mill Dracolich. This is actually a pretty sweet mini. That is the biggest mini in the set. There's also this zombie white dragon. This has not been painted yet. This has just been primed. Using a priming technique that I show you guys in a video I have, all of these are primed and ready to rock. Yeah. But as you can see, if you prime them, they're actually ready to go on the table, just like that. You don't need to do any more. How to do it, I give you a step-by-step video if you go through my videos. This color pattern is You go from asphalt to, I believe, white. And, you'll pick grays and such in between. Just dry brush each layer on, being selective about where you do it. And then hit it with a dark wash at the end. Any of the dark washes will work. Now, why am I showing you this? Well, sometimes these games go on sale. But even when they're not on sale, there's just piles and piles of miniatures here, guys. We got rats, right? Rats. We got, look at these awesome blazing skeletons, right? Gargoyles. You name it, we got it. And you get heroes, like this particular fellow, right? Lots of heroes. I started to paint this one. We got a base coat for the flesh tone. There's ghouls, okay? Ghouls, right? Very cool models. I'm going to quickly go through some of the other games and show them to you. So I'll pause the video while I do that. Very quickly though, this is its own board game. You don't have to use this for D&D. You can use this for by itself. It's an amazing game. I have players who won't play D&D but love this game. Okay, and then I have D&D players who hate this game because it's not really D&D. So it's going to be hit and miss. But you have a real potential here to get the best of both worlds because you can use the items in here for either game. The next game in the series was Wrath of Ashardalon. This one has some very nice utility as far as the miniatures in it. The Castle Ravenloft game mostly had undead and some kobolds, actually, interestingly enough. But this game carries on the kobold legacy. And you get a lot more kobolds in this game. 4 more, if I remember right. Could be 6 more, though. 7. Could be 7 more. You also get a cool little beholder, gaunt style beholder. If I remember what they're called right. The gaunt. Very quickly, I'll show you some of the minis. Now, this is a Ashardalon proper. And this is Eva rubbing up on the instruction manual because that's an Eva thing to do. She has taken possession of it. She's been very possessive lately, as you may have seen in my videos, especially when we try to play things like Settlers of Catan or Hero Quest, just to name a few things. Here, play with the Ashardalon. Alright, you get a lot of cool aberrations in this game too. This is a Grek, which is a very cool critter. And as you can see, again, we just did a very quick little version of a paint job. And as you can also see, this works fine. You could put this on your table and it actually looks really nice. But for me, it's a prime job for when I actually paint them. There are also regular critters like bears. Who can't use a bear? And there's also fun things like gibbering mouthers. And also in this set are orcs. There's some orcs in this set that are useful. So kobolds and orcs are your kind of mainstay creatures you get out of this. There's some demons in there. Ooh, here's a kobold. That's actually painted. So there's an example of a nice kobold doing koboldy things. I even did the base up. All right. So moving right along, we'll stuff old Ashardalon back in the box. And again, all these are their own self-contained game. It is important to note the price points on these. You can get these games. I've seen them as cheap as $39. Okay, you're getting, if I remember right, it's about 50 or 60 mini. I think it's 40. I think it's about 40 minis per, but your mileage will vary. And the newer WizKids versions are a little skimpier on the minis than the old Hasbro versions, but they're a little better on the, well, it's hit and miss on that, but some of them are a little better, I think, on the adventure packs. So if you're actually wanting to play the game, there's some advantages to the WizKids games. They add some new systems and dynamics that make the game even more expandable. Now, the other neat thing about these games is every piece is compatible with every piece in the other games of the series. So you can take a character from this game and put it in one of the other games. So that is really neat, I think. You can take some of these cards and use them in the other game. So that's a really nice little feature. Totally compatible. Some mileage will vary on that too. We'll talk about that. The next game in the series is Legend of Drizzt. The Legend of Drizzt. And it's a cool one too. There are some demons in here and goblins and trolls. So if you like demons, goblins, or trolls, oh my. There's also a purple or deep dragon. And, well, we'll just pull some out and show them to you. A little taste. Here's one of the trolls. It's a feral troll. This one I have painted, obviously. So, there you go. There's a little look at what yours could look like. And here are some of our titular heroes of the Icewind Dale series of novels. That's who you play as in this one. So as you can guess, they kind of have epic stats and abilities. Here is a Balor demon, which I have started to paint. Definitely got a good start on it, the paint job. So there's that. Okay. And, there are two feral trolls in here. So two size, huge looking trolls. Big freaking trolls in here. Doing trolly stuff. Now, you also have some undead. So if you're wanting spirit type creatures. And of course you have the dragon. It's a smallish little young dragon. You have a Drider. There's drow and there's water elementals too. So you got a nice little mix in this pack. The heroes are really strong in this pack. So if you're playing it with other modules, you might run into a problem with balance. That's the main complaint I hear about this one. As far as the miniatures, you get a good value for your money here. This pack tends to cost a little more than the others, I've noticed. But for good reason. You are getting a lot of miniature for your money. Hopefully we can fit Erdlu back in there without problems. Yeah, that's how there's so much miniature, you got to be careful putting stuff in. Yeah, he's a few steps away from being fully painted. All right. The other thing about these Hasbro minis is they're very sturdy. Very sturdy. Unlike, and we'll talk about that when we get to the WizKids stuff. Anyway, Legend of Drizzt does have another mode on it, an arena mode, where you can play player versus player. So that's a really neat feature. Not sure if you can incorporate that into the other maps, but you can definitely incorporate the heroes from the other maps into that mode. So it's still fully compatible. Many moons had passed, and some thought the game was over. Dungeon Command comes into play in between. Now, Dungeon Command is its own separate game, but it's compatible with this game, and I'll show you real quick. But Temple of Elemental was the next installment. Temple of Elemental Evil, and it was made by WizKids. This is the first WizKids set, not Hasbro. Alright, so Dungeon Command is its own game. Now, I saw these on sale as low as $29. And the advantage of Dungeon Command is the minis are all pre-painted. And they are the Hasbro minis. Here's an example of what you're getting. These tiles are not compatible, as far as I can tell, with this. But they are usable for Dungeons and Dragons, so don't let them out totally out of hand. Now, there are some cool minis here. This is an owl bear, and here's a wereboar. And each set has its own sets of miniatures, and all of them are usable in the D&D Adventure Series, as well as their respective Dungeon Command decks and boards. So it's 2 games in one. You could not use these they are add-ons, so they are expansions as far as our D&D games go. They are a standalone game for Dungeon Command, though. Each box is, but you preferably want to have 2 boxes if you do want to play Dungeon Command, because they'll give you more options. You get to use the full map and build a full army. But there is a 1 box compatible game version where you just play a game against a second person just with the contents of 1 box. So that is a neat feature that they added. How much do they add to the game? Well, some of these are actually really cool. Heart of Cormare actually gives you ally cards, which really are neat, and I would almost say are a must-have. So Heart of Cormare, at the very least, is a must-have if you really want to maximize, if you're actually playing these games. Okay. Temple of Elemental Evil is the WizKids game, and I'm going to pause it while I get a couple minis out because we're running out of time here. It doesn't take long to figure out that the minis are not as big. There's not as much mini for your money here. This Ettin's pretty cool, but it's smallish. I like the Knolls. But you can see the problem. And the other big problem with this game is, and I'll show it to you, these fire bats. They just snap off. They snap off, and you ain't going to get it back on easily. You kind of have to use your own stands. I have some stands, so it's cool. But I mean, the minis aren't horrible, but there is a step down here. This is a step down, but the gameplay is nice, so it's not all bad. All right. I also wanted to quickly mention that the heroes in this game are also the heroes inside this pack. Icons of the Realm starter set. So if you wanted fully painted versions, you could buy these. Since we're running out of time, we're going to quickly touch on these 2. Tomb of Annihilation is quite possibly the most new player friendly of the games. I have opened Waterdeep Dungeons of the Mad Mage, but that version I have at another house. This is the regular one. I had the deluxe. So the games come in a deluxe pre-painted mode on some of them, so you have to check that out if you're interested. A lot of value here. If you get these games, if you want to play these games, they're very fun. It depends on what kind of gaming group you have, how much enjoyment you'll get out of it. Thanks for watching. I hope you find all the miniatures of your dreams while you're awake. And please like, share, and subscribe. Take care.